Good morning. I don't know if I got this sneeze out before we went live, but we'll see. Okay, good morning. Today is September 10th, the most important day in the history of the world as far as I am concerned, because what? It is my birthday. Right, right. Really? Okay, yeah. Okay. From the perspective of my skull-sized kingdom, which we'll learn about next week, this is the most important day in the history of the universe. The anniversary of the day I was born, 68 years ago. Spooky, scary, spooky language, spooky. Okay, but here we are today, Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning here in southwestern Nevada. Up in the hills, mountains, over the mountains from Sin City, west of Sin City, east of Death Valley, south of Area 51, Pahrump-Tucky. Pahrump or Pahrump-Tucky, you choose. But it's the land of sharp-elbowed, hard scrabble, pistol packing, rootin' tootin' people. And you have that a little bit inverse, but that's where we are today. And today is day 3 in week 1 of our neuroscience-oriented approach to success, where we learn about addiction. And if What Not a Bevy was here, I would ask, what is the opposite of addiction? And she would say connection. It's not sobriety, it's connection. And I think they tell you that in AA, that you're still an alcoholic, even if you're in sobriety. You're just one more day beyond using, but you're still an addict. And I would say, from a neuroscience perspective, you are lucky that you produce a goodly amount of dopamine. Do it fluid. I'm going to pour my vitamins. Am I addicted to these? No, I'm not. And then I use my... Why use a spoon to stir your drinks when you can use electric whisker, whatever it's called? Whisker? Bronc whisker. Okay, so here we are on today, 2025, September 9-10, 2025. Not too shabby. Already did my Peloton, my 20 minutes. My new routine, not that anyone cares, but just because this is my day. My new Peloton, which I started in July, routine is 10 minutes full body stretch, followed by 20 plus minutes on the bike, on the Peloton, where I am dripping with sweat, and then into the shower, and then here we are. Okay, so this is day 3 of week 1, our overview and orientation, to answer 2 questions from a neuroscience perspective, not a psychological, not a sociological, not a religious thing. 2 questions: who am I, and why do I behave the way I do? From a neuroscience perspective, what is going on in my brain, in those 13.8 billion neurons with the 10,000 connections each? What's going on in there? How does my lived past, anticipated future, my ability to simulate, my imagination, my personality, how does all of that come together? And if I understand that, then I have the ability to dial in who I need to be. Who am I and why do I behave the way I do? So we're going to learn next week, who am I? No, we're going to learn next Wednesday. We are going to learn that my self-identity is only made up of my self-beliefs. If I change my self-belief, I change my self-identity. The problem is what? Habits, unconscious behavior. So we'll learn more about that next week. But today, we're going to learn about addiction. We're going to learn about addiction from a guy that the experts would acknowledge grudgingly or enthusiastically or somewhere in between. He probably got it right. Johann Hari. And why did he probably got it right? Well, he had motive. He ruined his life, his career, because of addiction. He had the means. He was wealthy. He was wealthy enough to pursue it without grants, without gatekeepers, just to pursue his driving passion to learn why did he do what he did. So he had motive, he had means, and he had training. Cambridge educated journalist. So he had the training to figure it out, to have the process to know how to figure it out, how to interview the experts. So as he's going broad, everybody else is going deep. He's going broad. Happy birthday to you. Jesus loves you. Tia True. May you always shine for Jesus. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Edward, from the... No. False. 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 The last sentence is false. Okay. So, smile for the camera. Okay. So the guy who figured it out, and after going around the world interviewing people because he knew how, he had the means, he had the motive, the motivation to do it, the burning passion, desire to do it. Because of all of that, he probably figured it out. And what he came to is the opposite of addiction is connection. That addiction is driven by dopamine and the desire to isolate, or we pull away. Our human connections weaken. So we'd rather be alone with our thing we're addicted to than with us. And it could be work. Could be work. Could be I've got to bury myself in work. And what I do is I don't have good social connections. Really? Okay. I keep looking down at that little chat box over there. Bonk. From. Okay. I wonder what the feeling from that person is. It's a mystery. All righty. So, also today is our volunteers' breakfast at the Methodist Flirch. Next week is our wraparound. Let's see. Okay, let's go to our worksheet. That's where all the magic happens. Worksheet, where the experts are, where the experts is at. Right, advice from an 80-year-old. Whistle. Where is my thing? Always look on the bright side of life. Right as Monty Python said in The Life of Brian. Always look on the bright side of your life. Okay, so that is from advice from an 80-year-old. What else we got? Seth Godin. What does Seth Godin have to say? Working for advertisers. If you're going to build a conference, a newsletter, a podcast, an AI service, or even a tennis tournament, please pause before you decide to be ad supported. Ads are not the same as sponsorship. When you work for advertisers, you're focused on short-term interactions with people who relentlessly measure all the things you and your actual users don't care about. When we choose our customers, we choose our future. Advertisers are fickle and self-absorbed customers. They're happy to demand more of the things your users don't want and will do, so until your users leave, and then you'll abandon them. Advertisers are happy to demand more of the things your users don't want and will do so until your users leave, and then they'll abandon you, both the users and the advertisers. Sure, it might take longer to find the users who are willing to also be paying customers, but the short-term thrill of selling an ad contract might be a trap. Build something your users are willing to pay for. That's the key. Build something your users are willing to pay for. Then you can focus all your energy on what they want and offer it to them. When your users are your customers, every decision is easier. Okay, cool. QL. QL DeVille. QL DeVille. Yesterday had the pleasure to be in Las Vegas, CHW work at a group home down there. New client. And I will be spending 2 days a week down there at different group homes. Yeah. Where they're more interested in the outcome than they are in the history. Right. Okay, what does that mean? Don't rightly know. But addiction. So where did Johann Hari cobble all this together and be the guy who finally figured out? Well, he started with, where did the idea of addiction come from? The idea was chemical hooks. So if I say to you, how many times do you have to use meth or heroin or LSD before you become addicted? Most people have an answer to that. 5 times, 3 times, 1 times, whatever it is. Gambling. How many times smoking? How many times marijuana? How many times pornography, gambling? What other ones are there? Whatever. How many times you have to do it before you become addicted? And the definition of addiction is kind of like doing things that you don't want to do, but you can't not do it. Secret. My addiction is oatmeal raisin cookies. If you put a bag or a box or an oatmeal raisin cookie in front of me, it is going down. Right. Okay, so don't do it. No oatmeal raisin. So addiction is doing things that we don't want to do. We know we shouldn't do it, but we can't really not do it. Doing the things we don't want to do. So, where did the idea of addiction come from? It came from rats, from an experiment they did with rats, where they put rats in a cage, gave it a choice between regular water and drug-laced water like cocaine or heroin. And they found after a while the rat chose the drugged water. In fact, they chose it to the detriment of themselves, even unto death. And so the doctors concluded, the lab people concluded, there's something in the drug that is like a hook. It's like a chemical hook that gets in your brain. And once that hook is in your brain, you can't, it's really, really hard to get it out. That was the idea for a long time. Kind of like the idea that the sun goes around the earth. That lasted about 2,000 years. Well, who knows, maybe before that, but it was first codified around 500 BC. And it wasn't until the 1500s that Galileo and Copernicus came along and said, no, the sun doesn't go around the earth. The earth goes around the sun. Okay, so chemical hooks, the idea about chemical hooks. But a guy came along and said, maybe it's not the water, maybe it's the cage. Maybe the rat is drinking the drug water because it's got nothing else to do. Its life sucks. Its life is so painful and bad, but for the drug water makes life in an empty cage bearable. So he said, let's try an experiment. Let's put stuff in the cage so the rats have fun. Let's put in cheese. Let's put in other rats so they can have sex and play around and have a little wheel and have tunnels and do all of this stuff. And we'll call it Rat Park, and then see which water they choose. And surprise, 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 as Gomer Pyle would say, surprise, surprise, surprise. They chose the regular water because they had connections. Johann Hari continues. We tried that experiment on a national level. It was called the Vietnam War, where gobs of soldiers were taking loads of heroin. Most of them, when they came back to the US, just stopped. Why? Because they had connections. They had things that are important. He continued, if your grandmother falls and breaks her hips and goes to the hospital, they're going to give her loads of morphine or heroin, something like that. And what will happen is when she comes out, she won't be an addict. He continues, all of us here at this TED Talk, because that costs bazillions of dollars, we could be drinking vodka all day long and it wouldn't affect us, but we choose not to. We are not addicted. There's no chemical hooks in there for us. It doesn't take away the pain. Alcohol doesn't take away the pain of living. Right. So connection, connection, connection. And then he stitched it together with other examples to help prove the point that the opposite of addiction is connection. That we need to get closer, to pull in the people that are addicts, not push them away, not threaten the relationship, not put contingencies upon them. We need to tell them we love them. We need to sing love songs to them and hold them close so they don't have the need to do that. And he continues talking about what they did in Portugal, which was not only to decriminalize most drugs, but to help addicts have a better life, not just treatment, not just going to AA, but helping them with jobs by saying to employers, if you hire this person, we will pay their salary. Or saying to other people, you want to start a business, we will fund you if it is a good enough idea. Well-wishers. Happy birthday. Wow. Thank you, Judge Fiore. Thank you. Wishing you the best. Best. Period. Okay, cool. Cool debt. So that's one. Just making sure there's not other ones here. Other ones. Who thinks that females are the other sex? Okay. So, and in Portugal, guess what? It's working. It worked. Drug use down. Suicides from drug use down. Crime from drug use down. Why? Because they did not scorn, push away, threaten people who are addicts. They loved them or they respected them. So, with that, 1949, time to go. Blessings to all, and to all a good day. All right. Cut. Bonk.